Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Lamb. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. The illegal immigrants who arrived at the state capitol last week are now nowhere to be seen. Local groups are reportedly shielding information since the drop-off. A man known as the Unabomber has died in prison. He's most infamous for running a nearly two-decade bombing campaign. A $30 million grant goes to electrifying tractors at a Long Beach port terminal. It's part of an effort to become the world's first zero-emissions port facility. A new California bill would force insurance companies to cover gay men using surrogate mothers to have kids. To do that, the bill redefines infertility.
The new definition will be a person's inability to reproduce without medical intervention and would classify gay men as infertile. The bill passed the Senate last month. One of its authors is State Senator Caroline Menjivar. In her words, it will ensure that queer couples no longer have to pay more out of pocket to start families than non-queer families. The California Family Council opposes the bill. They say it will further erode the father, mother, and child nuclear family.
Last week, nearly 36 illegal immigrants were flown to California at the request of the Florida governor, but now they're nowhere to be seen. Local religious and charity groups are reportedly shielding the people's whereabouts ever since being dropped off near the state capitol.
Nearly 36 Southern Americans picked up in El Paso, Texas, were flown to Sacramento by private jet on 2 charter flights over the last week. The request came from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The group was dropped off at the Catholic diocese near the state capitol, and their whereabouts have since been shielded from reporters by local religious and charity groups. The Epoch Times canvassed the area surrounding the location where the illegal immigrants were last seen and reported no activity since a busload of people arrived on June 2nd. Maria Gonzalez, a local store clerk, told the Epoch Times, quote, "Everyone was taken away so fast that if it wasn't for the news, we wouldn't have known they were here. But a lot of people are wondering if more buses and planes will be coming." Calls to local homeless shelters failed to locate the families, though some spokespersons did say that they couldn't provide details because the locations are, quote, safe havens. The bishop of the Sacramento diocese, Jamie Soto, told another news outlet that charity groups came together as soon as the need arose to provide temporary housing for the illegal immigrants. The only other information we currently have is from a homeless man residing in an encampment directly across from the premises where the new arrivals were unloaded. The man told the Epoch Times that he saw a bus come in and depart soon after, heading southbound. All media attempts to contact the diocese, including emails, phone calls, and visiting the building, were met with referrals to a communications director, and no response was received on deadline.
A former university professor who ran a nearly two-decade bombing campaign has died in prison. He was known as the Unabomber.
Theodore Kaczynski, who ran a 17-year bombing campaign in the U.S. that killed 3 people and injured 23 others, died on Saturday. He was 81. Kaczynski was a Harvard-educated mathematician and former UC Berkeley math professor. He admitted to committing 16 bombings from 1978 and 1995 and retreated to a shack in the Montana wilderness, becoming known as the Unabomber. A spokesperson for the Federal Bureau of Prisons said he died at the Federal Prison Medical Center in Butner, North Carolina. He was found unresponsive in his cell early Saturday morning and was pronounced dead soon after. The cause of death was not immediately known.
A California port terminal is buying electric tractors with $30 million from the federal government. There's one stipulation: the tractors must be operated by people. Entity's Andrew Thomas has more on workers' attempts to keep their jobs in an era of energy transition and increased automation.
Long Beach Container Terminal has purchased 60 electric tractors. Workers haul shipping containers from stacks.
So we're working the vessel here with the ship-to-shore cranes, discharging, and this ship is now loading back after discharging the entire ship. And what we have here is a crane in which I have a man in the cab who's doing some of the work to and from loading and discharging the ship.
The drivers will work alongside more than 100 automated vehicles and 70 driverless container stacking cranes. America's most automated port terminal aims to be emissions-free by 2030.
The $30 million grant that we were awarded, it allows us to take really gets us 95% of the way to the balance of our emissions that we have here in this facility.
The $30 million grant from the federal government is a fraction of the terminal's $2.5 billion modernization program. According to the EPA, the U.S. transportation sector is the nation's largest contributor of greenhouse gas emissions.
I mean, every bit of fossil fuels will be eliminated from this operation. The maritime industry is a big producer of emissions in this region for the local communities, and LVCT is doing its part to make sure that we've reduced it down to zero, at least for our operation here at LVCT.
Projects such as improving cargo efficiency and reducing emissions come with a catch. Equipment and infrastructure aren't allowed to result in net job loss, but the combination has proved effective so far.
What we wanted to design was a terminal that was the most efficient, the most technologically advanced, and more importantly than anything, the cleanest container terminal in the world. And we've achieved that now that we're at complete build-out.
Union members still secure containers on vessels, operate massive cranes, and set containers on the trailers of waiting semi-trucks. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
More and more self-driving cars are roaming the streets of San Francisco. Critics say they are causing havoc in the streets, while tech companies argue that people's fears are due to a lack of familiarity with the new technology. After two tech firms, Cruise and Waymo, were given permission by local authorities several months ago to test their new vehicles in San Francisco, self-driving cars have become a common sight. Currently, about 400 autonomous vehicles, or AVs, roam city streets. But SF Gate reported on June 6 that some San Franciscans fear these AVs, saying they are endangering public safety and, quote, incompetent. However, a Cruise spokesperson said that out of the 2 million miles driven, none of the AVs have caused any serious injuries or fatalities. Waymo gave a similar response, saying the public's lack of trust in their vehicles is due to a lack of familiarity with the new technology and the company's safety record. But critics argue that automated vehicles have been responsible for various incidents, including rush hour traffic that have grinded to a halt, driving through police crime scenes, blocking fire trucks, and even hitting city buses. SFMTA, the city's transportation agency, listed 92 reported incidents involving AVs that have interfered with public transportation routes last year. Tech companies continue to expand their AV pilot programs with the support of the state's Public Utilities Commission. Similar pilots are also taking place in Los Angeles, Phoenix, Arizona, and Austin, Texas. At least 53 companies are currently working on self-driving cars, with additional startups expected. Now we'll take a short break, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Los Angeles is home to one of the most expensive housing markets nationwide, but there's one house that's very affordable, with a catch. The DOJ says scams targeting the elderly are happening more and more. Cities in California's Silicon Valley are trying to equip their senior communities with tools to spot scams. And gold fever is back in California. To celebrate, a small town reenacted and revived the pioneer life from the Golden State's early days. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Lamb. Now, Los Angeles is known to be one of the most expensive housing markets in the country. However, there's one home in LA County that most people will find affordable. But there's a catch. The house is about the size of a 2-car garage. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more.
Los Angeles locals are buzzing about a one-of-a-kind property which has just hit the market. This gem of a home is hidden away and tucked under a bridge in the city of Alhambra, just a short distance from downtown LA. Douglas Lee, a local realtor with Compass Real Estate, tells us just how unique this tiny abode is.
It's 462 square feet on an 1,800 square foot lot. It sits right here on top of a bridge on the border of Alhambra and San Gabriel.
The property was last purchased in 2005 and at a price almost anyone could afford, just $72,000. The owners bought the home with a very specific use in mind.
They intended to use it as like a man cave, but then it ended up just being storage.
Whether you call it a man cave, a bachelor pad, or a storage unit, one thing's for sure. It comes with a variety of perks, but it does need some TLC.
It has a great rooftop deck area. It is a bit of a cosmetic fixer.
This one-bedroom, one-bathroom living space might be ideal for those on a budget, a first-time home buyer, or someone who just wants a little privacy. According to Realtor.com, the average price of a home in the city of Alhambra will set you back about $800,000. Norma Vega, a local resident, says she's looking for an alternative to high-priced housing, and she was shocked to learn there was a home like this for sale right here in her own backyard.
I have crossed this street hundreds of times. Never before did I think there was a house underneath this pavement here.
It's not a mansion, not suitable for an extended family, and its curbside appeal is marginal, but
really cute, charming. I think only one or possibly a couple could fit, but it's quirky.
Homes come in all shapes and sizes. Home is where the heart is. And for the person who buys this home, the mortgage won't break the bank. Christina Corona, NTD News, Alhambra.
According to the Department of Justice, financial scams and abuses that target older people are happening more frequently. Communities around the country deal with robocalls and face-to-face scams. So, I heard from the Northern California city of Milpitas to see how they address the issue. The city of Milpitas held a seminar to teach senior citizens on how to avoid getting scammed. Now, we also spoke to 73-year-old Lisa Koo, who attended the seminar. Locals in their golden years listened attentively and took notes at the Barbara Lee Center. In today's age, scams can come in many shapes and forms.
Because of the people getting on, the easy to get a scam from the people, and that's why we have to be very careful when you're hiring to, some contractor to fix the house or something, or when you buy, insurance for car or something.
A simple but foundational tip from the seminar was to look up the credentials of contractors and to be cautious if they offer many freebies like free meals and gifts.
You check it before. Don't let them scam you. Okay, you buy the insurance, they cover everything and you got, the good gift or something like that.
Koo said she appreciates the opportunity for attending the training, which was supported by public officials.
I hope you'll find this seminar informative and may never become a victim of fraud or scams or bad business practices.
We are in a digital world. Everything's on the internet, your credit cards, your banking, your insurance, everything is online. And many seniors, coming from a different era, are learning how to use the internet tools to navigate the system.
I've heard a lot happening around, especially the senior citizens being targeted for ages now. Because of the technology, the AI, they are not really resourceful about being up to the mark with the things happening around.
The DOJ reports that fraud and romance scams targeting older adults resulted in over $184 million in losses in 2018.
It's very difficult because I'm a senior myself. What we want to do is to give the residents in our city some tools to prevent being a victim of any scams, whether it's insurance, whether it's fixing their homes, contractor.
Officials hope to hold more similar seminars in the future. In Milpitas, California, David Lamb, NTD News. This winter's abundant rain has revived the gold fever in Northern California. There, locals reenact the pioneer life during the gold rush as visitors flocked to town. Entity joined in on the fun and heard more from the locals.
The towns of Placerville and Coloma, California have a rich history for gold. This year's storm has people flocking to gold towns, hoping to strike it rich. Knowing this, locals hosted events to show newcomers what life during the gold rush was like.
There's a little bit of gold with quartz. Some of it came out of the river, some of it came out of the hillside. It's just a lot of people forgot about the gold, and it's still right underneath us.
Albert Falzel is the owner of Placerville Hardware, which claims to be the oldest hardware store west of the Mississippi. His family has owned the store for 70 years, and he is the third generation.
This building was established in 1852 during the gold rush. They needed supplies, so they'd come right up here to the hardware store and buy all their metal gold pans, their buckets. They'd buy, their sluice boxes, their dynamite.
We're just marshals making sure that the city is safe while the wagon train comes through. The wagon trains would come through after the 1840s. And the gold rush that started this town happened in 1848. In 1849, everybody started coming through. And by the middle of 1850s, this was a booming town. So people would be coming through here.
Didn't expect this special event here in Placerville. It was a pleasant surprise to be here for these, one of its Wild West connection here.
Just got bit by a rattlesnake last night, and I'm feeling pretty ornery now.
Marshall Gold Discovery State Park is also presenting a living history program on the second Saturday of each month.
Real piece of California gold right there.
About 300 yards downstream was the original mill site of the Marshall Sawmill, which in 1848 James Marshall found gold in the tail race of the mill when it was under construction. It's a sawmill they built to mill lumber that never actually milled lumber because gold became more important.
It's for the 175th anniversary since gold was discovered in California. The Hands-On History Day features many historical interpreters that teaches people how to pan for gold using 1850s type equipment.
When you get heavy water flows and you start seeing stuff that's 100, 200 pounds moving around the beach, that's when you know you've got a good gold year, or what you're really getting is a good turnover year. So you get a replenishment of gold in the river channel. It's not that it's not always there, it's just that it takes the large water movement to get it exposed again. So it makes it accessible to people with pick and pan.
We learned how to use a rocker and how there's like 2 to 3 miners using it all at once.
You get to learn about what supplies you use and what they're called. Like up there's another stand where you can learn about horn spoons and scales and all sorts of different things about gold panning.
Philip said one has to be patient to see results. He also says some of the purest is from California.
It's still wonderful that we've got wine country, we've got rafting, we've got Gold Bug Park. Every little business down here is a small business still, and so, we all support each other, and it's just a really great community to live in.
They say they just want to share the excitement with others and hope to preserve the history for the future generations.
Now we're going to check in with Entity's Carlos Reyes for our sports roundup.
This is your California Sports Roundup, and I'm Carlos Reyes. The San Jose Earthquakes defeated the Philadelphia Union 2-1 on Saturday night at PayPal Park. Jeremy Abobise and Miguel Trauco found the back of the net as the Quakes extended their home unbeaten streak to 8. They are also unbeaten in their last 4 matches. Earthquakes head coach Luchi Gonzalez had this to say about his team's recent performances.
At the end of the day, we put away our chances, and that's the most important, right? So I thought we were efficient in the chances we had, and we showed high quality in our finishes. Both of them were excellent goals. Defensively, I'm really proud of the guys to, in the run of play, defend well. I know we conceded on a corner, but in the run of play, defended well, covered each other, and handled those 3 guys, and found a way to win.
The Quakes opened the scoring early with an 8-minute strike from forward Jeremy Abobise. Cade Cowell receiving a long ball over the defense, dribbled into the space, and found Ebobise at the top of the box. He one-timed a low shot into the corner for a 1-0 lead. Philadelphia traded blows by scoring off a corner kick in the 17th minute to finish the first half level. San Jose battled back in the second half to find the game winner in the 57th minute from defender Miguel Trauco. Carlos Grueso collected the ball near the top of the box and found Trauco, who fired his long-range shot into the top right corner. An absolutely beautiful finish that helped the San Jose club steal another home win. The Earthquakes will next host the Portland Timbers on Saturday, June 17th, live from PayPal Park. Jock Peterson and Thairo Estrada each homered twice, shortstop Brandon Crawford made his major league pitching debut, and San Francisco rebounded from a near no-hit defeat by breaking down visiting Chicago. The Giants erupted for 15 hits, 7 for extra bases, and their 4th most runs of the year to salvage 1 win in the 3-game set. Peterson finished 4 for 4 with 4 RBIs and 4 runs for the Giants, while Estrada scored 3 times and drove in 4 runs. Blake Sable chipped in with a pair of RBI singles, and Michael Conforto added a 2-run single. Nico Horner had 2 hits for the Cubs, who completed a 4-6 California swing. In the 9th, they faced Crawford, who allowed a walk and a single to the first 2 batters they faced before getting a fielder's choice, fly out, and pop out in foul territory. Giants 13, Cubs 3. And now let's switch gears to the racetrack. NASCAR last had a presence at Le Mans in 1976 and returned this year with a version of its second-year next-gen car. The Garage 56 car was fielded by Hendrick Motorsports, Chevrolet, and Goodyear, the winningest team, manufacturer, and tire supplier in NASCAR's 75 years. The number 24 Camaro was in a class by itself, racing against no other cars. The initial goal of the project was to simply finish the race and showcase NASCAR, but the Chad Knaus-led team was so outstanding that until a brake issue with about 5 hours remaining, it seemed as though the lineup of California native and 7-time NASCAR champion Jimmy Johnson, 2009 Formula One champion Jenson Button, and former Le Mans winner Mike Rockenfeller might actually beat the entire 21 car GTE AM field. The time to fix the brakes took that off the table, and it felt like a disappointment for all that NASCAR had accomplished. The car had a later issue that required a gearbox change, but the engine lasted the distance, and the car crossed under the checkered flag for a champagne celebration. That is it for today's Sports Roundup. Thank you for watching. I'm Carlos Reyes.
Thanks, Carlos. That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like for you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcast at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Ganjing World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb. Have a wonderful evening.